We have to help. I can't be myself.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Stand for the pledge, please. Petitions or public comment or community events that are not on the agenda. Yes, Mr. Beal.
My name is Chris Bell. I just have a question about last month's meeting. There was something I realized after I got home that I didn't fully understand. The board took a look at the latest zoning proposal from Hudson River Valley Resort and then voted to refer it to the planning board for comment. Supervisor Walsh, you participated in the discussion and in the vote. Previously, when you were on the planning board, you had voluntarily recused yourself from the HRVR application. And so I wanted to know, have you changed your mind about that? And if so, could you tell us why?
It's my understanding after talking to legal that I do not have to, it's a different set of rules and situation for planning and the town board. The town board can have an opinion, the planning board cannot. And I think everyone knows that I recused myself not for any legal reason and only so that the focus would not be on myself at that time. And that was just to let the process go forward without there being any controversy. And I believe that, you know, there's no reason for me to recuse myself as a town board member.
Thank you.
Was there anybody else?
We still in public comment?
Yes, Nick?
What's it going to take to get the town's website running?
Yes.
This is 5
Yes.
months.
Well, it's been a long process, but this past week we were ready to launch and we ran into a little trouble with the domain name being switched over. A lot of going back and forth with the people that have had the domain and just trying to get that switched over. I'm hoping by tomorrow we get all that resolved and we should be up within a week.
I noticed there was a second tab when you tried to
What?
There was a second tab when you tried to log onto it. Is that part of it?
I don't know. Well, they tried to switch it over and it didn't work, so they're working back and forth between the company that has been monitoring it up till now, and there's been some problems with it. So I've been told that it should get worked out by the end of the week. Okay. Anybody else? 1 second. Have you guys looked at the minutes?
Yes. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second that?
Those are all the April
Yes.
roll rate. Councilman Hanson,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisors.
Yes. Do you guys have any reports on your committees and commissions?
I'll start off with regard to the Rec Commission. As everybody knows by this point, the pool will be closed for the season. This past week, we received 7 proposals for a wide scope of work to be done on the pool, everything from an engineering report to an evaluation to a full-blown proposal for rehabilitation of the pool. At this point, the supervisor and the board have to compile all the information and come up with the best possible scenario and solution to our pool problem, and then obviously speak to the public in regard to the cost of such. So that process is ongoing, and secondary to that, I believe that we have a speaker tonight that's going to speak to us with regard to the pool, so I'm going to defer those comments to later on in the evening. The ZBA, last month there was a public hearing on the Selco Tower up in Tilson. That I believe is still open, the public hearing is still open for comment up to, and the next meeting will be next Tuesday, correct? Thanks, Cal. And that's it.
For water and sewer,
You don't need a mic.
uh,
Sorry. Everybody else does.
for the water and sewer, everything is pretty much, we're meeting, where the biggest discussion is the implanting the meters, water meters, and looking into that, and just various discussions on what we can do to help the water, the youth. The other committee that I'm on is the youth committee. The clothing shed that we had installed out there, don't get too excited about this, but it made $345. But $250 of it was a donation from the town of Rochester for a referral. So when you cut it all down, we made $90, but you know what?
That's $90.
It's more to zero. It really looks nice out there, and it's working out well. The alarm system has been installed in the youth building, so Kathy is real happy about that. It's working out well. However, she thought possibly there might be a need for a temperature sensor to alarm, during the winter months and stuff like that, if it's freezing, or God forbid if a fire breaks out, it would sense the higher end to alert that there's a problem. So that is going to be possibly looked at. June 6th is awards night, and it will be 6 p.m. Down here at the rec center. And a wonderful thing that Ruby Tuesdays is doing, they're having what they're doing, if anybody eats at Ruby Tuesday from Rosendale and shows a brochure, they will donate 20% of the 20% of the bill as a contribution back to the youth center. And instead of running it for one day or one night, they've extended it from May 23rd, 24th, and 25th, which was really, really nice of them to do. So if anybody plans on eating out during that time, please see Kathy, or we'll get you a brochure to bring with you to hand it in, and that'll help the kids in our community to keep money coming in for the community of the youth program. And I think that sums it up. Thank you.
I'd just like to give some updates on the Environmental Commission. The commission is working on a guideline for planning, building for bat habitat protection. On April 24th for Earth Day week, they showed a film called Fresh, and was followed by a discussion on local food production and sustainable agriculture, and about 80 people attended. The commission also helped to organize a pollution prevention workshop for the town highway, sewer, water, and parks personnel. And this was for the MS4 stormwater management that the town is required to do. And the consultant for the town is Barbara Kendall, and she did the presentation. And the commission is also holding the Rosendale Earth Fest Expo on Sunday, June 3rd from 11 to 4. And the theme of this event is Food for Thought. It's being held together with the season opening of the outdoor Rosendale Farmers Market. And the event is free and will include exhibits on alternative energy, green building, local food production, live music, a show with live reptiles and raptors, lots of food and kids activities, including a stream walk, seed planting table, a stream table, make your own bat house, and other activities. So we don't have the other board members here, so I guess we're going to, I don't know if Billy wants to talk about planning. Did you want to say? Oh, I didn't get that message. Yes. Oh, you don't have it? Sorry. Did anybody else get it in this packet? Yeah.
We'll just follow.
I can give it to you at Bob's packet.
That's okay, I mean,
$1,234,408.68. In the highway fund, there's $869,325.36. Capital highway, $21,266.03. Capital, $198,601.86. Recreation sub-account, $24,089.47. Capital rec, $790.67. And light, $17,934.73. We have two appointments. I'd like to make a motion. We have a temporary clerk filling in highway. Motion to appoint Doreen Whitaker as temporary clerk at $11 per hour.
I'll second.
Temporary clerk of what?
Highway.
Roll vote. Councilman Hanson,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor.
Yes. And I'd like to make a motion to appoint Collin Schoonmaker to the Youth Commission until 12/31/2013. We have someone that was not able to take their place in the
We
commission.
talked about that.
So,
I'll second that.
Councilman Ryan, Councilman Hanson,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor.
yes. Janette Hanson from the Rosendale Defense Against Fracking.
I know, I'm sure. My name is Janette Hanson. I'm an 18-year resident of Rosendale. Recently, I formed a group called Rosendale Defense Against Fracking. I have a petition that is directing the members of the board of the town of Rosendale who are sworn to protect the health, safety, and welfare of this community to adopt the town of Rosendale's Community Bill of Rights protection from shale gas and oil extraction. So far, there are 294 signatures and still more to come. So here's the petition.
I'm sorry, how many did you say, Jen?
294, I believe, if I counted that right. Along with the petition, I have also provided copies of the ordinance to each board member, as well as a copy of the Safe Water and Drinking Act according to the EPA standards of allowable levels of contaminants. They have also been given a list of 79 out of the 500+ toxic chemicals used in the fracking process. The petition is on the back table along with CELDF newspaper and the EPA Safe Drinking Water Standards, if anybody wants to sign it or look at that. There's a young people's petition, which my daughter Melody is going to present to the board members of the town of Rosendale. She would like to say a few words. Then my daughter Violet would like to present her discussion regarding fracking. Then we will hear from Toby Stover from Rochester Defense Against Fracking, and Paul Benzermine, I'm sorry, did I pronounce that wrong? Bergenzon, sorry, would also like to add a few words, I apologize. After they speak, then I'll present why adopting this ordinance is an absolute necessity. Just a few quick words about my daughters. They've been bringing their message to ban fracking to town board meetings and circulating petitions. Violet spoke at the Ulster County Legislative meeting to prevent the so-called brine on roadways in the county, and was then asked to speak in Albany. Violet and Melody held the flag of the Peacemaker and spoke at the opening ceremony at the Ramapo Lenape Tribal Lands in New Jersey, a rally where a prayer for the earth and a ban on fracking was honored by our native people. Their message is strong. Please hear the message my children bring. We're passing the earth to them and the next 7 generations. My daughters have been working to fix what we adults have ruined and don't know how to fix. Please help them to do so. The children of Rosendale are signing the petition to ban fracking in Rosendale because they don't want to have it happen to them like it did in Dimmock, Pennsylvania, and in other states. Basically, their message is, if you don't know how to fix it, then don't break it. Melody, can you bring the petition and present it to Joan, please? Go ahead. I believe there are 67 signatures from children in the town so far, and more to come. Melody, can you come up and tell and say your speech, please? Yeah.
You can't even see her behind you.
My name is Melody Hanson. I've learned a lot about fracking, and it will destroy the earth in about 6 years. We need to stop fracking now. People are getting sick, animals are dying, water is getting polluted, and soon we won't be able to grow food. Only a few people are getting rich, and the rest of us are suffering. I urge every town to form a group and ask their town board members to ban fracking, based on our civil rights to clean air and water. If we don't act now, it will be too late. Thank you.
Violet, can you come up with your speech, please?
My name is Violet Hanson. I live in New York State where fracking is about to happen. I want to abolish fracking. I am only 11 years old and I know what fracking has done to the earth. Many people think kids don't pay attention to what is going on, but we do. We are not stupid just because we are young. The fear of having no voice about what will happen to our future is unimaginable. The issue of fracking both scares me and makes me very angry. I've seen what fracking has done to other states. Ohio is having earthquakes. In Colorado and Pennsylvania, there are water faucets on fire and houses are exploding. There are streams here in the Catskills that are so clean I could drink out of them. Washington Irving often wrote about the beauty of the Catskills. That beauty is about to be gone forever because of fracking. Earth is the only planet that can sustain life because of the water. We are about to throw it all away because of money. People think fracking is good because it will help the economy. They are very misled. Anyone who passes this bill is allowing fracking is selling out for money and saying yes to the destruction of our planet. I thought we were trying to repair the environment these days and not find new ways to destroy it. New York State is so beautiful now. Why ruin it? All of you here are someone's mother, father, son, or daughter, aunt or uncle, cousin, grandparent, or grandchild. Even if you don't care about me and my family, please care enough about your own families not to allow fracking here in New York State or any other state. In fact, you should all join the fight against it. If fracking happens by the time I have kids, there will be nowhere left that is safe to live. No clean air, no clean water, and no food to feed my own children. The animals will not survive and all the plants will die. Our planet will die along with it. Then will the economy even matter? You may not live long enough to see the Earth's demise, but if you say yes to fracking, your children will live to see it. You adults will be passing the planet to us children. It's completely destroyed the way you want to leave it to us. For everyone's sake, please don't allow fracking. Thank you.
Yeah. Toby Stover is going to speak next. And I can't say enough about Toby. She's been a friend of mine for years and is a woman of absolute integrity. She's been working diligently to ban fracking in the town of Rochester, as well as spreading the message that we can't frack at all, and helping form coalitions to abolish fracking and adopt wind, solar, and water power. She is a powerhouse of information and loves the world and cares to help make it a better place for us to pass on to our children. She will be able to explain all the civil rights ordinances and zoning laws and so much more in a clear, concise way, which will help us to better understand what we can do to stop the fracking in every community until we have solved the fracking problem globally. We are not against each other. We need to work together to ban fracking town by town, county by county, state by state, country by country before it's too late. Let's give a great big hand for Collin.
Thank you so much. Try to live up to that. And thank the board for having me, and thank Janette for inviting me. And I'd like to read to you actually a statement that I gave in at the Marbletown Community Center on March 4th for the town of Rochester, and the town supervisor was there. And so I'd just like to read that to you, and I've updated it a little bit. Oh my goodness, water has spilt on it. Okay. My name is Toby Stover. I'm a mother, a teacher, and I've lived in the town of Rochester for 31 years. We have an organic community-supported agriculture farm, which is called a CSA, on my property, and our method of growing is called permaculture, which develops agricultural ecosystems intended to be sustainable and self-sufficient. So naturally, I'm interested in the subject of sustainability for our community. And I'm passionate about protecting our pristine land and water and developing a sustainable energy future so our children and grandchildren will inherit a healthy world. I live right next door in the neighboring town of High Falls, so what happens in Rosendale impacts the entire community. Water and air know no boundaries. That's why I'm here tonight. I know that many of you in this room are concerned about fracking and about what we can do to protect ourselves from unwanted intrusion by greedy gas and oil corporations. No doubt you've seen and heard their relentless ads telling us that fracking creates jobs, is safe, provides clean energy that will create energy independence for Americans and will be a bridge to an energy future. Their claims are, in fact, lies. As we are learning more every day, fracking, by every measure, is a criminal attack on the well-being of people, animals, plants, and the environmental resources which sustain us all. Not a single one of the gas industry's persistent, widely distributed propaganda claims stands up to scrutiny. There's no doubt that many of the people in this room are against fracking, or at least would like more information. If you're like me, you've been writing to your representatives, signing petitions, writing to the governor and the DEC, going to hearings and rallies, but still feel frustrated that so few seem to be listening and responding. It seems that there's a big push to frack, regardless of the wishes of the people. Questions that come to mind are, why are we not being heard? Who stands to gain from fracking? Where is the gas really going? Is it okay to poison our environment and children in order for a corporation to make a profit? What happens here? Who decides? Who has power over our lives? Do we have rights? What are we going to do about it? What I've noticed is that corporations are not at all shy about establishing their presence in our towns and pushing their agenda to frack our land. So let's not be shy about standing up for ourselves, our environment, and the right to ensure a sustainable future. There is no doubt that fracking is taking us in the wrong direction, greatly contributing to global warming and ruining our chances to create the future that we want in our communities. So what can we, as individuals and communities, do to protect ourselves? First of all, we can realize that we are not alone in our objection to the practice of fracking. Every day, the coalition of towns, states, and organizations that are working to ban this heinous practice is growing. The state of Vermont just became the first state in the nation to ban fracking. France and Bulgaria are the first two countries to formally ban fracking. And while our goal is a statewide ban and a worldwide ban, we must also work locally and build momentum. The idea that we have rights and must guard them made a lot of sense to me. So I have formed a group in Rochester called Rochester Defense Against Fracking, and that's in our town where I live. Meanwhile, New Paltz, Marbletown, Woodstock, Olive, and others are also working hard to pass laws to prohibit fracking in their towns, and now Rosendale. Our county has banned fracking on county land and is considering a ban on the use of fracking brine on all county roads. I'm happy to announce that there will be a public hearing on June 7th at 7 p.m. in the town of Rochester to discuss our proposed new zoning law to ban fracking. Which brings me to the question of the kinds of laws that are being proposed and why I'm here tonight to encourage the passing of two kinds of laws. Fracking. Why both? A zoning ban says merely that a particular industrial practice cannot be performed in a community, but does not necessarily say why. A Community Bill of Rights ordinance, on the other hand, is stronger in that it says that our rights, including the right to clean air, water, and land, are inalienable, cannot be given to us or taken from us by the federal or state government or any corporation. These rights ordinances state that human beings and other life have rights, and that corporations have no rights over the communities that prohibit them. This is true regardless of what the states permit. Zoning bans assume that our rights are conferred upon us by the state, whereas Community Bill of Rights ordinances recognize that our rights belong to us and supersede state law. In passing these two laws side by side, we are creating the strongest possible protection by asserting our rights and protecting not only ourselves and our environment, but protecting and practicing democracy. Our legal advice has come from lawyers of CELDF, which is Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund, based in Pennsylvania, who are experienced on the subject of community rights, zoning bans, and rights-based ordinances. They recommend strongly that these laws should not be combined, but should be passed side by side. My source is celdf.org, and Janette has a lot of these papers if anybody would like to pick them up, and you can find out about this organization. If a zoning ban is overturned due to the state not recognizing home rule, which is the case in Pennsylvania, the Attorney General of Pennsylvania is suing the people who elected him on behalf of the corporations. And they have no zoning rights whatsoever. And if the state legislature of New York decides that they don't want home rule anymore, a zoning ban will do nothing to protect us. And this is why the two laws need to be separate. Because if the zoning ban is overturned, the Community Bill of Rights ordinance will still stand. This also sends the clearest message to not only the gas and oil companies, but sets an example of courage to surrounding towns to protect themselves in the same way. And hopefully this will spread to every town. Many, many towns are doing this, then that goes to the county and also to the state. And it is important, and I will tell you why, that the state will also ban it. I'm going to get into that right now, actually. The fracking fluid, the contaminated water, travels for hundreds and hundreds of miles. That's a fact. So if we have a ban and you have a ban, but another town nearby doesn't, then we still get poisoned. So we do need to work for a statewide ban. It is important to note that for those towns that have already passed a zoning ban, and many towns have, it is easy to later amend it to reference a separate Community Bill of Rights ordinance. By having the two laws in place, each referring to the other and standing on their own merits, it makes it much more difficult for the gas companies to circumvent these laws. We must realize as well that in the event that the state of New York does uphold home rule, corporations can still sue under the takings clause for lost profit. They cannot do that with a Community Bill of Rights ordinance. We need to be watchful, as the fracking zoning bans passed to date in the towns of Dryden and Middlefield are already being challenged in appeals court, even though the time for the appeal has expired. According to CELDF, of the more than 140 Community Bill of Rights ordinances passed recently, only a tiny percentage have faced legal challenges by the corporations to date. And the reason is that the corporations do not want to challenge, they don't want to say that their right to make money in our town trumps our human rights, because it's a PR nightmare for them. The issue of property rights also needs to be addressed in all laws pertaining to corporate versus community rights in order to truly protect our water, land, air, and health. Property rights cannot supersede the rights of the natural world to exist. This is what we already know. We know the legal constitutional basis of our rights. We are acting upon sound advice from a seasoned organization. We know other communities are doing as we are. We know the disaster accounts from fracking accidents. We know unequivocally that the safety of our water is threatened under fracking. We know the waste is irredeemably toxic, dangerous to all life, not disposable. And incidentally, speaking of setbacks, people say, oh, 5,000 feet from a school, a mile from an aquifer. When you're speaking about water migrating hundreds of miles, it's actually ridiculous for the S guys to be even talking about setbacks. We know the science warning against fracking. We know freshwater conservation under climate change cannot suffer fracking. We know that government and industry work together to promote shale gas. We know that government, that government and industry have failed to protect us in 60 years of shale gas history. We know that not a single industry claim to national benefits stands up to scrutiny. Not national security, not energy independence, not bridge fuel, not cleaner than coal, not safe, not job creation. We know shale gas has a greenhouse gas profile worse than coal and oil. We know renewable energy is the call of the hour, and we know our information sources are bona fide. And we are happy to provide the documentation to substantiate these points. After we have protected our own towns by passing laws to ban fracking, it is important to help other towns to do the same. Since contaminated water travels for hundreds of miles, we will not be safe if we only ban fracking here. But we must start here. Therefore, it is also important to work with others to pass a statewide ban on fracking to protect everyone from this grave threat. Never forget that Rosa Parks challenged a bad law by refusing to give up her seat on a bus, an action that sparked the civil rights movement in the 1950s and led to the fall of the unjust Jim Crow laws. We must be inspired by her courage to take action and do what is right and do it now. Thank you so much.
Norman Zoring has joined Rosendale Defense Against Fracking and has been working hard to do his part to ban fracking. He's a wealth of information. Please give him a warm welcome.
My name is Paul Bernanzon. I've been called much worse. Well, I've lived in Rosendale since about 2003, full-time since about 2005. and I appreciate very much the opportunity to talk to you tonight. I hope what I say is going to be useful, maybe even interesting. I think the discussion of fracking is very important for Rosendale's future and for the future of the state and beyond. This is, as several people have indicated, this is a global thing right now. It's a huge issue, and I'm not going to get into a lot of details. I want to make one or two small points, hopefully very briefly. And I also hope that you'll use your positions as the town's elected leaders to defend all of us from what amounts to a great corporate assault on the environment. I'll say a few words about myself to get started. I'm an MD. I've received specialized training in environmental medicine. I was the first graduate of the Duke University Medical School Environmental Medicine program back a long time ago. And since then, I've been involved with a variety of environmental struggles for environmental justice in the various places I've lived. I was a founder of the Carolina Brown Lung Association back when the United States still had a textile industry. Some of you probably remember that. It's been a while. As a member of the board of directors of the Park Slope Food Co-op, America's largest with over 16,000 members, I coordinated the campaign to stop genetic modification of foods, which is still an ongoing fight around the world, but it still represents a major danger for people like me. Since I retired 2 years ago, I've been on the board of the Binneywater Farm Project, and we're working to organize a community-supported agriculture, a CSA farm in Rosendale. I've also been studying hydraulic fracturing, or fracking, for natural gas. I've been especially interested in economics of fracking. I'm not going to get into that a lot, but just, that's something I know a fair bit about. 2 years ago, I retired after 36 years as a psychiatrist. During my career, I did extensive research, but my main work was always as a clinician. I specialized in the study and care of patients with schizophrenia. Now, some people have scoffed that a psychiatrist has no special qualifications to discuss fracking. They say, you don't have any specialized knowledge of industrial chemistry. That's true, but I know crazy. This is crazy. What they're talking about doing with fracking is completely insane. I'm going to go into that in some detail, because that's an area I really know a lot about, and I can explain that. Now, what is crazy? It's not an easy thing to define. A.A. and Albert Einstein both defined crazy as doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome, which I think is a pretty good definition of crazy after a long career working with this kind of problem. Now, what does that have to do with fracking in New York State? Well, the proposals are pretty straightforward. In order to get gas out of shale, which is more than a mile deep throughout the state, although maybe a little shallower here in Ulster County, at least in the Marcellus Shale, it's even deeper in the, Utica, thank you. It's slipped me. I was thinking Ulster was a U word. Anyway, what the oil and gas companies are planning to do is they want to drill thousands, probably tens of thousands of wells across New York State. Thousands and thousands of wells. And to frack the ground a mile and more below our feet. Each frack requires thousands of pounds of highly toxic chemicals. These toxic chemicals include carcinogens, neurotoxins, that is nerve poisons like nerve gas, and reproductive disruptors, endocrine disruptors, but specifically compounds that really disrupt people's capacity to reproduce, all creatures' capacity to reproduce. Now, that's what's known in the fracking fluid. Because of exemptions from all kinds of laws, the oil and gas industry is not required to reveal what they put in the fracking fluid. What I'm telling you is what we know about. I'm not sure I want to know what I don't know about that they have in there. But those are the poisons that we know about. Now, each well, and we're talking about tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of wells in New York State alone, each well can be fracked 18 times with thousands of pounds of these poisons in each frack. So it just goes on and on, injecting millions and millions of pounds of highly toxic chemicals into the ground around the state. This is the plan, and this is why I think this is completely crazy. Now, what does that have to do with doing the same thing over and expecting different results? There's more than one or two gray hairs here tonight. Some of you people, I'm sure, remember Love Canal. That was the birth of the modern environmental movement in the United States. It was a neighborhood in Niagara Falls, and I'm going to say a few things to acquaint people who may not know as much about it. Perhaps our two young speakers haven't heard much about Love Canal. But what they did in Love Canal, what they found in Love Canal, was in 1978, the state declared a health emergency there because the area was leaking chemical vapors and sludge from an old landfill. It was coming up in people's backyards and in the school, in the playground. And entire families who had bought their homes, not knowing they sat on a toxic waste dump, became ill before the state declared all pregnant women and all children under age 2 had to be evacuated. The New York State Health Department Commissioner at that time, David Axelrod, not to be confused with Presidential Advisor David Axelrod, two guys with the same name, said that Love Canal, and I quote, would long be remembered as a national symbol of a failure to exercise a sense of concern for future generations. And in Love Canal, studies found clear increases in cancer rates among those living there, particularly bladder and kidney cancers for children. A survey conducted by the Love Canal Homeowners Association found that 56% of the children born from 1974 to 78 had at least one birth defect. 22 women were pregnant during the course of that study. Only 2 of them gave birth to children without birth defects. The frustrating attempts by residents to draw attention to their problems reads like the stories coming out of Pennsylvania's frack towns that we hear about today. Then, like now, the company responsible for the dumped chemicals insisted there was no way to prove that people's specific illnesses came from the particular chemicals oozing out of the ground. They kept saying to the people then, just like they're saying now, prove it, prove that this caused your problem. And a lot of people back down, but some people are saying now, well, you got to prove that it's not causing our problems. People in Love Canal in 1978 moved to their homes unaware they sat on top of toxic wastes. Today we're asking that we not allow giant energy companies to inject massive amounts of chemicals into the ground in our beautiful little town. The current plans, like I said, are to create hundreds and thousands of new Love Canals across New York State. Let's not let Rosendale become one of them, and let's all advocate for a ban on fracking throughout the state. And I also brought copies of the film Gasland, which has really contributed a lot of information to people. I want to give it to the town board. Each have one for you to keep. And, no, that's not enough, I'm sorry. And I have a number of other copies if people are interested. So thank you again for the, please. Thank you again for the opportunity to talk.
The ordinance we are presenting to the town board is a civil rights-based ordinance. It is the inherent right of the residents of the town of Rosendale to govern and protect the rights of their own community from the dangers of shale gas drilling, also known as fracking. The Declaration of Independence declares that governments are instituted to secure the rights of the people and the New York State Constitution's recognition that all rights are inherent in the people. This local law recognizes and secures civil, political, and community rights of the residents of the town of Rosendale. We are asking the board to adopt this civil rights ordinance, which we are presenting. Fracking poses an immediate threat to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the town. Our elected officials are sworn to protect our community. It is the job of our elected officials to protect us on a local level because states and government will not. We are asking that our civil rights to clean air and water are protected. Some towns, such as Dryden and Middlefield, have won in court based on home rule and zoning laws. They are soon to be overrun by the gas companies. Home rule and zoning laws are useful and can be adopted and added to this ordinance. However, even the state and government cannot take away or overrule our civil rights to clean air and water. That is why this ordinance is a civil rights ordinance and is so important for the town to adopt. This ordinance also speaks against corporations as people. They don't want to say that since they are corporations and bigger than us, that they have more civil rights than we do. Now let's talk about fracking a little. First of all, fracking companies can do whatever they want without regulations because the EPA is not on the job. Shale gas drilling companies have been granted a loophole by Dick Cheney, exempting them from following the Safe Water Drinking Act of 1974. Natural gas companies will tell you that it is perfectly safe and has been being done since the 1940s. The truth is that the method being done since the 1940s is called conventional gas drilling. They drill down vertically and extract the natural gas. The new technology of natural gas extraction is called unconventional gas drilling. They drill down vertically until they meet the layer of shale, then they turn horizontally in every direction and extract the gas. They extract the gas by forcing millions of gallons of clean, potable drinking water and sand into the pipes. Since friction resists this process, they pump 500 plus toxic chemicals into the ground to aid in their process. Then they cause mini earthquakes to break the shale and force the gas out by the water replacing the space in which the gas took up. There has been a lot of talk about the brine. First of all, brine is for pickles. What they are giving townships for free and promoting as brine to be used as de-icing agents is not brine at all. They call it that so it won't seem so scary. What is actually in the brine goes back billions of years to when the planet was first formed. The Earth used to be uninhabitable. It was covered with radioactive materials such as radon and radium. Toxic chemicals and heavy metals were also present. The first forms of life on the planet were single-celled microorganisms called stromatolites from the Proterozoic era. They digested all of the radioactivity and toxicity, which resulted in clean air and water that we can all breathe and drink, making the earth habitable for us. They then became entombed by glaciers. The ancient seawater and fossils, which took billions of years for Mother Nature to create, are in the shale that gas companies are unearthing. By fracking, we are releasing all of this radiation, heavy metals, and toxins, and at the same time trapping millions of gallons of clean, potable drinking water into the shale to be forever trapped. Some water will remain entombed, and what doesn't gets mixed with the radioactive brine and the chemical cocktail mix of the fracking fluid, which works its way back into our drinking water aquifers. How long will it be until we run out of clean water to drink? Where are we going to get our water from? 70% of our earth is water. Of that, fresh water makes up only 3% of the water supply. Of that, less than 1% is available. The rest is tied up in ice caps and glaciers. Many of you may ask, why are we concerned with fracking in our small town of Rosendale? We are in grave danger. Governor Cuomo is trying to lift the moratorium preventing fracking in New York State. He wants to begin drilling ASAP. Under the Hudson Valley, we have the real gold, the Utica Shale. Gas companies want to drill here and are trying to push ahead. So you might say that Rosendale is such a small town, nobody will drill here. Well, in Texas, Pennsylvania, Wyoming, Colorado, etc., they've been drilling in towns right alongside people's homes, in schoolyards, and everywhere they can. Why should we ban fracking, and what could it do for or to our community? Well, in areas where they have already fracked, faucets are able to be lit on fire. Due to the high methane content. Houses are becoming explosive. People, animals, and plants are dying. The water is rendered undrinkable, unable to wash in or even wash your clothing in. Streams are becoming polluted in fracked areas. Amphibians, fish, and reptiles are all dying as a result. Due to the air and water quality, people are getting cancer, neurological problems, and so much more. Property values are diminished. You can't buy or sell a house that could explode and has no potable water with air pollution all around. Banks won't give loans to people to buy homes in fracked areas. People leave the community, taxes don't get paid. Before long, you have a ghost town. The landscapes are forever changed as drilling rigs are erected everywhere. The level of noise is extremely loud. The noise goes on 24/7. These are the sounds of drilling rigs, flaring trucks, traveling the roads on convoys day and night. Now what happens if there's a spill? The gas companies won't clean it up. When our roads are destroyed, the gas companies won't fix them. Our towns are left with the contamination. They say there is a lot of money to be made with local jobs, and in some cases that is true. But for the most part, the gas companies bring in their own workers to frack the towns. With these workers who come in from out of state, there have been high levels of drugs, prostitution, and crime. My family and I traveled to Dimmock, Pennsylvania on Sunday. I had been in touch with a woman there who has been speaking up against what is going on there. I figured before speaking to the board and the town residents of Rosendale that I should see it for myself firsthand. So our family met her and some of her neighbors. The whole community is in trauma. It's like a war happened there. People spoke of the wars going on between neighbors who had lived there for generations in harmony. These were wars between people who are for or against fracking. One man said, "Only a few of the people are making money from this. Most of us don't. But the ones who are making money would and are selling their own children as they continue to let their kids drink and shower in the water. They are flaunting their money, promoting the gas companies, and feeding their own kids that water, denying it will kill them." Meanwhile, the natural gas prices in the area have plummeted to just above $1, and the gas companies have spent more than they are making while destroying the town in the process. Frack pad well sites had been everywhere surrounding every house. The woman whom we met with became our guide and showed us where volcanoes of exploding wells were on fire for days, with a large yellow cloud of smoke lingering in the same place right across the street from her house. Meanwhile, the fire department did not know what to do to stop it, so they just let it burn. That was only one of many explosions. She described how there were gas geysers that looked like Alka-Seltzer, hills covered with snot-looking stuff, rainbow-colored roads from frack fluids. We drove throughout the town with her as she showed us all of the fracking pads, drilling rigs, pipelines, flares, trucks, and leaking pipes. A pond where 40,000 fish died, the Susquehanna River and ponds now bubbling with bubbles the size of golf balls that look like corn syrup. Then there was Button Pond, a small stream where she said the evaporator station is permitted to pump water out of this stream at the rate of 3.575 million gallons per day. She said they bulldoze fracking sludge into the creek and cover spills with gravel. She showed us how every frack pad has pipes which discharge into the nearest body of water. That's not a mistake. It is a layout plan, she said. She showed us a mountainside by her house on her property where the gas companies spilled 20,000 gallons of diesel fuel and on another occasion 30,000 gallons of propylene glycol. It was winter, and she described the mountain looking like a red snow cone and then a green one. The trucks travel 40 miles per hour on little farm roads in convoys all night and day, carrying toxic chemicals at high speeds. The roads are ruined so badly there that you can only travel a few miles per hour so you don't tear up your car. She told me of how the EPA has done studies on the water in the area and are raising allowable limits of contaminants in drinking water so their water will pass as potable drinking water. I am working to get copies of her reports. She pointed to all of the neighboring homes and told us of the many people who had lived there and how they all died from brain tumors, cancer, and neurological effects, all within the first years of drilling. Some of them were very young. Animals died a lot also. Her own children suffer from the following: literally drowning in nightly nosebleeds, rashes from showering, earaches, headaches, stomach problems, kidney problems, cognitive problems, and many unexplained illnesses. A few years ago, her daughter was trying to learn to ride her bike. They had been spreading the brine on roads daily. She told us that it was so slippery that her daughter could not stop, crashed, and had half of her face ripped open, a concussion, and almost lost her ear. Although there are still some active drilling sites, most of the drilling is now over in Dimmock. They have fracked the area almost all they need and are moving on to new territory. But the town has been left poisoned and still toxic. The stories went on and on. We were only there a few hours and needed to get out of there because we had severe headaches and nausea just from the air there. You could smell the poison. I did come back with a souvenir. Violet, will you bring up our souvenir, please? This is water from the town of Dimmock. First of all, Cabot Oil and Gas Company are giving people recycled frack water to drink in bottled water. These were sealed. The people were saying, here, you know, it's sealed, it's clean. Cabot Company is providing us with water. We were reluctant. We said no, we brought our own water. Brett ended up taking a sip, and I took a sip, so did Violet. And we had headaches within a few minutes. We could taste that there were fracking fluids in there, and our mouths tasted like oil. But the people there don't have any taste or smell, no taste buds left. And because fracking also damages your taste buds and your ability to smell. They can't tell what they're drinking. So these look pretty clean, right? This is actually Cabot Oil and Gas, what they're giving out. These ones look clear. This is our tour guide's water. This is Cabot. Now, Pat Fernelli, our tour guide, has clear looking water, but her water has far exceeded the allowable levels of water quality with meeting up with the EPA standards, and they keep raising the limits. Her neighbor down the street, Craig and Julie Sautner, this is their water. These are two samples that came from their house at two different moments. And they're faucets, yeah. Another neighbor up the street, Scott Yeley, has samples that look like this. And if you want to smell them, I know nobody here would want to drink them. If you'd like to drink it, I don't want my children drinking this, or any of your children, or their children's children. I invite anybody who wants to examine these to go ahead and do so. Please be careful so that you don't break them. We don't want any accidents. What's up?
Yeah, I just want to mention something I happen to know about you that I don't know if everybody else knows. Janette actually studied water quality management and water quality monitoring a bunch of years back. I don't think we told these people that.
That's true. I didn't tell you I don't work in the field because I homeschool my children, but I was a water quality scientist. So,
Can I ask you a question? Did you have any of the water tested to see what was in it?
no, not yet.
Were you planning on doing it?
I am planning on doing that. I don't have a laboratory, so
No,
for me it's pretty difficult. It's expensive to get all the lab equipment. But I did want to show you guys that because, you know, it's just hard to see. You know, one of their samples is green, the other is, you know, off color, and then a Yubu-looking one.
There's no methane left in those that has bubbled out since it's been extracted. All the wells all around the area have these big pipe stacks on them with vents on them, so it keeps the methane up away from the living areas.
Yeah,
And they
they
explode all over the place and just boom.
So makes sense with this water. And when looking at the water, ask yourself if you want to allow the government and the state to decide your future of your water, air, and life quality. Please, we ask the Rosendale town members to join us in asking our elected officials to adopt the Town of Rosendale Civil Rights Ordinance to ban fracking in any part of any township that belongs to the Town of Rosendale. The people of Dimock, Pennsylvania, and many other before-mentioned states have been abandoned and their rights orphaned, including their right to representative form of government. I know our town board members care about this community. So we ask and the members of the board, our elected officials, that you must take seriously your oath of office. As our elected officials, you are duty-bound to exhibit personal integrity, ethical judgment, in service of human health, safety, and welfare of the community. We urge you to adopt the Civil Rights Ordinance to ban fracking in Rosendale. The people of the Town of Rosendale are counting on you to take the leadership role of standing up for our rights as a municipality. Thank you. One more thing, if you'd like to take action and get more involved, Toby asked me to announce this. Please join the area of Defense Against Fracking groups. We're having a morning training this Saturday, May 12th, at the Cheese Shop in Rosendale. And the purpose of the training is sponsored by Frack Action, and it's to learn how to do an effective petition drive in order to show support for our community Bill of Rights ordinances in our towns. So anybody interested should go there on Saturday. And thank you all.
Thanks, Janette.
Thank you.
Great job.
I just want to say to the girls, you did a very nice job. I wanted to mention that once a month, the supervisors in the county meet, and we have been talking about how to go forward with the fracking issue, and maybe the possibility of working together, all the towns working together for some issues on fracking. So it's not that we aren't interested in going forward, but we're trying to make sure we cover all our bases. So I'm waiting for some feedback from some of the other towns that are working on it, and hopefully, you can all be on the same page. So I'll bring this back to them, and we can also have our town lawyer look at it also.
Yeah, in the newspaper, the CLDF newspaper that's at the back of the room, that has their information, and I'd invite you to ask your lawyer, your town lawyer, to speak with them, because they're very familiar with civil rights ordinances, zoning laws, and that's what they do. They've been going community by community to help ban fracking on a civil rights basis, and they're very knowledgeable and very successful with what they do. So
I just want to say that it was a fantastic presentation that all of you did.
thank you.
And you know, Janette, we've sat and we've talked, and I couldn't be more on board with you, so I'm not going to beat a horse to death. In direct relationship to fracking, we saw what happened down in Louisiana with the oil drill for big money companies that are making money. And once that pipe broke, it was out of control, and nobody had a backup system to secure that. And so we polluted a lot of our ocean waters everywhere. So here we are talking about doing something under our feet that we have less control of, have less sight on. So to keep it simple, I'm with you.
Thank you.
May I just say a couple of things?
Can
President
you use the
Obama-
mic, please?
Excuse me?
Could you use the mic, please?
President Obama just recently, I'm not sure exactly when, but he just was quoted for saying, drill, 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 in reference to fracking. And 2 days ago, I believe, he met with our governor, and they were talking about, I didn't quite read the whole article, I just saw it while I was in the store today, but they were talking about how New York was going to make a bunch of money, and how moving forward with new energy, so they're talking about fracking. So I think Cuomo is more on board than off board with this situation. So I can't tell you how heavy my heart is after I came back from what I saw in Demick. When I first got there, I was like, well, it doesn't appear to be too bad. You know, it looked like just any other town. And when we went down there, it was on a Sunday afternoon, about 3 o'clock by the time we got there. And you could see the trucks going by, big trucks, and the roads were all really rough. And they have wells every 1,000 yards. And they point to everyone, you know, anybody that you talk to there will say, well, there's a rig there, there's a rig there. There's another one that were pads or sites. And when they drill, it's probably an area the size of our parking lot with a big mast with lots of lights, lots of diesel generators going. You could see diesel smoke blowing for quite some time. And then when they leave these sites, they leave these big evaporation tanks, which I happen to look out across the field. And you know, like when you go down the road on a hot day and you can see the heat coming off the road, this is on a cloudy day, and you could see about 100, maybe 1,000 yards off in the distance. You could see the fumes coming off this thing. And I had such a headache. It took me 2 days, and I'm still ill from this experience. And my heart is still very heavy from what these people have to live with. And I don't want to take up any more time. We have a lot of business to tend to.
Thank you. Thank the Hanson family for your presentation and, you know, your persistence in bringing this issue not only before us, but I know, Janette, we've been talking for a while, and anybody who will listen to you, you'll talk their ear off about this. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Thank you.
You know, the proposed law that you put before us tonight, I see that, you know, it's been noted that it has to be reviewed, obviously, by legal. And as Supervisor Walsh has said, that I believe that through the County Supervisors Association, they're looking to come up with some sort of I believe it's a unified law that would perhaps be a little bit more, or uphold itself a little bit more should there be a challenge. And, you know, so I believe that through the Supervisors Association and, you know, whatever we can do with regard to this, I'd certainly be in favor of it, but it's certainly going to take a little bit of time to get it done. What we as a board here can do in the immediate, and it's a concern that I have, and you referenced it here tonight, is to make a commitment to the people of the town of Rosendale that we will not as a town accept any hydrofracking brine to use on the roads. I have been trying to keep up as much as I could on what's happening in Pennsylvania and surrounding states, and even to an extent way up north in New York. And this stuff is so volatile that they're looking to give it away in you know, beautiful packages. And in tough economic times, when municipalities find it hard to provide the necessary services, up to and including sometimes salt to salt the roads, it might seem a good thing or an easy thing to do to accept this in the interest of saving the taxpayers' money. I would hope that we as a board, as soon as next month, could adopt a resolution that would assure the people of the town of Rosendale that, at least in our highway department, we won't be spreading this dirt on our roads. So, Gina,
That's very
if you will.
doable. That's very doable. I just want to make sure that something Janette mentioned about the difference between brine and this came up with the supervisors also, and that also when the county legislators were talking to us about, you know, going before the county was working on something to ban brine, and everybody wants to be clear that brine can be just salt water, and you know, the town of Rosendale has been looking into a saltwater brine, which is not the brine that is used for hydrofracking. So I just want to make sure we have that distinction, but absolutely I'm in favor of banning and making sure we, I think everybody would be interested in making sure that making a commitment
Absolutely.
to
And that's what
no hydrofracking brine being used. If that, like you said, that's not really the correct term, but that's what they're calling it, so.
That's one of the reasons I bring that up, is because we are looking into the possibility of using some sort of a sodium-based brine, which the state uses right now, that I believe is
Just
it's
salt.
acceptable
I
as
mean,
salt water.
I've quizzed Carl and it's just salt water.
But this stuff is not.
Well, the county exec must be on board because it was a month and a half ago, that county exec, Mike Hine, had banned using brine anymore on the roads.
That's the county.
Also,
I-
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
On the hydrovacuum brine. So that must be an indication that he's on board with it also.
I believe they're on board with it, and I know he's trying to pass a no brine law, but my understanding is that there's a few pieces of the wording that aren't quite worded right that will actually protect the county from brine use on the roads. So, I know that there are people questioning the wording that was used.
I think it might have had something to do with making sure it was hydrofracking rather than just brine. That might have been part of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was something more along the lines of the fluids, versus the brine, like that they don't want any of the fluids used at all, and that wording was missing from the ordinance, I believe.
Jen?
A few things. First, that's fantastic, the idea of passing a resolution. The town might want to consider adopting actually a local law so that it's permanent beyond the tenure of you all, well into the future, that gas, waste fluids can't be used on roads in our town. And I also wanted to say that the Environmental Commission would be happy to review this issue and review their ordinance with a view to making a recommendation to the board. We can't make a legal recommendation, but look at it substantively. And thirdly, I was thinking it might be valuable for educational purposes. Something the Environmental Commission could consider is trying to bring a legal representative from the organization that you have been consulting with, as well as the lawyer who defended Dryden, the zoning cases in those two towns, and perhaps bring them here for a forum to discuss the two different legal approaches.
I also think it's not a bad idea for the environmental commission to maybe work with the group that's looking into, trying to, it makes sense for you guys to work together. I mean, that's, I don't know how it is.
I agree.
I'd be
Yes.
happy.
I just wanted to say something that relates, Councilman Hassett, I believe, brought up about the, or maybe it was Councilman Ryan, the BP oil spill in Louisiana. And we're in a situation where what's coming into play here is what they call the 80-20 rule, that it took only 20% of our energy to harvest the first 80% of easily obtainable fossil fuel. So the natural gas where you just go down into a pocket and you take that up, that's what we have been using until we got to this point where now it takes 80% of the energy to harvest the last 20%. So the BP oil spill, where we used to go down 500 feet in Texas, and now we're going down 5,000 feet in the middle of the ocean and having a disaster of huge proportions. The issue in Fukushima, and don't think it can't happen here. Talk about walking the walk. You went to Dimmock. I was in the bowels of Indian Point yesterday. And, as much as they try to implement safety, and they do a rigorous job on site, but they can't make, I don't want to get into a sidetrack about that, but they can't make the larger environmental circumstances, seismic issues and other potential issues go away. But I just wanted to put that into people's minds and ask that this is a chance for us to have what they're calling the fourth revolution, or the transition to a green energy economy. please take seriously each of our responsibility. We have a 10 kilowatt system, we're using geothermal, this is a green building, it's a great model. But I'd really like to encourage each of us to, I have a 1 kilowatt solar system on my house. I'm making a commitment to add 2 more kilowatts. That's 2,000 additional watts of power so that I can get most of my electricity, not just a third of my electricity, from the sun. And that's what we've got to do, because the 80-20 rule is just going to get worse, and the solution to it is energy efficiency and renewables. And I know I've said that before, but I thought you might want to play that forward, the idea that it's not going to be easy. We're going to have to drill deeper and be much more interventive if we're going to do things the old way. So we have to start finding and implementing new ways of getting energy. So this is such a heartwarming night for me to see so much solidarity behind this in the town and on the town board. It's a grave concern, and thank you again, and your family and everyone who came out tonight. This is a disaster, Doctor. This is a disaster that can be prevented, and we can find better ways to meet our energy needs. So thank everybody.
It's a good thing it's only a 4 a.m. night. So the next item on the agenda is we have as everyone knows, and Ken mentioned earlier, we have a situation where the pool is closed for the summer, and we're working very hard. We've been interviewing engineers to look at it and trying to narrow down what's exactly wrong with the pool. But in the meantime, we've had some concern about what do we do with our summer programs, how do we manage the summer without a pool. So basically what happened was I approached HRVR, Tim Allred and Rick Steele, and asked them what could they do to help us deal with the problems that we're having with not having a pool. And we worked very hard to try to come up with some solutions to how to manage, programming, swimming, and they immediately said, yes, we would like to help. And I was very thankful for that. While we were kind of trying to figure out all these things, some of the things that came up was the programming started to find other ways to handle, the different pool for the swim team. And by the time we were working through it, we kind of got to the point where we're not going to be able to manage the same kind of programming that we have at the pool financially and logistically with staffing and all that. So I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but the town has about an $80,000 budget for the pool program over the summer. We take in about $30,000, which creates a deficit of about $50,000. So $50,000 goes towards the pool to make it run, to make sure that we can have a pool and have swimming and programming for the kids and those kind of things. So my concern was I didn't want to spend, the money that we might need for engineering and for how to go forward for finding a new pool and make it a tight program that was difficult to manage. We've come up with a plan. Tim Allred is here to speak to us about it, and we're very thankful that HRVR is interested in helping us out with this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thanks for the opportunity. It's kind of a tough act to follow. I really applaud what you've done, and I learned something more. I look forward to getting my own copy of Gasland. The producer of that is a friend of my wife's, and get some more information about it myself. So thanks for doing that. Thanks for the town being on top of it. This is a little bit lighter topic, and yet also a topic of concern for the town. As Supervisor Walsh said, the pool is closed. We learned of that, and we were approached. We said yes, we'd like to help. Last summer, when the pool thought the pool might be closed, we were asked by the swim team to provide a place for the swim team to practice at Williams Lake, and we said yes, and it turns out they found a pool. I don't know where they ended up last summer, I can't remember, but so this time round, we're looking immediately for ways to help, and it's a kind of a short-term and a long-term commitment that the project wants to make to the pool. The long-term is a little bit easier, that we can fundraise and talk about other ways we can contribute to restoring the pool so it's back up and running as soon as possible. And in the short term, kind of looking at the summer, as Jean said, we looked really hard at the first kind of option for us was to see if we could replicate as close as possible the programming of the pool at the lake. So basically shift as much as we could, make it happen so the swim team and the summer camps and Brookside and swimmers could be there. We worked pretty hard for the last month or whatever it's been, and long story short, the capacity is not really there to make the full programming shift. And a lot of the programs have already found homes, which we're very happy about, although it's not ideal, to be in that situation. So what we've come to is a proposal that a preliminary proposal just passed to the town board, where we'd like to suggest that we could partner with the town to provide a series of fundraising events this summer at the lake, with the sole purpose of raising funds for the pool. So in terms of the mechanics, there was a lot of conversation. We can't operate without insurance for the swimming, and if the town can provide that, then we can run a series of fundraising events and incur the costs and put all the money into a pool fund. So that's really the essence of the proposal, is to see how we can work together to get the lake open for swimming on select weekends, select dates, and put a lot of energy into raising funds for the pool. And we would do that with kind of on our capacity as best we can. At Williams Lake Project, we worked with Carrie Wyckoff of Events That Matter to help run our events and put together a couple things, kind of like the Rambo last year for the rail trail, and try to make a dent in bringing the pool back to life. So I think that's the short of it. Is there anything else that I should say, or?
Well, I'm just very thankful that you guys stepped up to help us, and it'll be somewhat of a partnership, but I think people should understand that if there's admission, it's totally goes to run the program, and all proceeds will go to pool. There won't be any money going to HRVR. I think that's important for people to understand, and we appreciate that. This is going to be a big nut for us as a town to put together for the pool. So it's going to be a combination of fundraising and hope other sources. But I also would like to reach out to people that are interested in volunteering, because we're going to need volunteers to help with this. When there's an event, we may have a table, where somebody may be selling products that are going to help with the pool fund and that kind of thing. So we'd like to see people volunteer their time.
And I guess I should say that the couple of things that we need, including volunteer help, would be we need the town to help. We need the town to provide a certificate of additional insured, which is apparently we do it all the time for all of our events. It's not a big deal. Volunteers, and then if there are supplies from the pool, like lane lines and swim buoys, if you have, and first aid, emergency stuff. If we don't have to go out and buy all that, that would be great, and we just put it to use this summer and give it back to the town at the end.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'd like to just say that I've never seen anything like this before in my entire life. A company that comes here to produce money because they are a company, and they use their land and property to help out the town and go the full extent to help us out. It's going to do a few things as I thought about it. Since we don't have a pool, and if we have a hot summer, it's going to be a safety net, because it's going to keep teenage kids from going to places swimming, or older people in places they're not supposed to be, and we are not going to hear about accidents of deaths or people being seriously injured up by high falls, up at the ledge, and stuff like that.
How many?
Can I finish, please? Is it okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I need to interrupt.
That's okay. The other thing is that when I was at the Save the Lakes open forum down here, one of their concerns was that what is HRVR? Are they going to stand to their word and stand up and support the access of the lake, make it cost within a, and I think this is a perfect test for everybody, and I hope it will answer Save the Lakes questions on this. He doesn't have to do this, HRVR doesn't have to do it, and they're doing it. So it's answering the questions on the other end of the spectrum. So to sum it up, I want to thank Tim Allred and I want to thank HRV for doing what they're doing, and they really don't have to do it. So thank you very much. Could you finish up, please?
Wait, I would like, Amanda wanted to.
I'm sorry.
Amanda, can I just finish my thought, because I don't think really, really quick. I think he offered us a couple of fundraising events, which is a beautiful thing, but I don't think he offered us a safety net to have everybody come swim there for a low price. I just don't think that's what he just offered us. Maybe I misunderstood.
You're right. We're talking now about a series of fundraising events with access for swimming, right? And what
That's what I thought I understood, because I don't
that's exactly right.
If I could go swim up at Williams Lake for $4, I'd be very happy.
What we worked really, just to...
It would be nice if somebody could fill up my gas tank for nothing. I mean, sometimes you gotta stand up and do things for yourself, and not always have somebody do something for you.
Sir, I'm not putting down what he was offering, it's sounding to me like you were suggesting he was offering something else, which would have been even more thrilling, but it's good.
The more thrilling, option, we worked really hard for that, and that may get lost in the conversation, but tonight we can talk about the fact that, and Jean knows because she was at a lot of those meetings, and Tara and I, we worked very hard to try to take the program and bring it to the lake and make it, essentially the same fee structure and, replicate the programs as best we can. Nobody needs to know, the effort we put into that. The town, at the end of the day, didn't have the capacity. We can't do it on our own. And so this is the best thing that we can do with, just a few weeks before it gets hot. The intent is there, and, there's next summer. We're trying to, our main goal is to get the pool back up and running and provide that opportunity, and that starts now. And it's not just the summer. I mean, we all need to be thinking fundraising for the pool going forward. And and then we'll see next summer what happens, where we all are with the with the pool and with the lake. So we did look at that really hard, and we couldn't get there.
Thank you.
Well, that was one of my questions. It's not, you're not planning a regular 1 or 2 or 3 days a week. It's going to be specific events. What about lifeguards? Are you providing those, or is that great?
Yeah, so, I mean, again, same thing. We looked really hard at getting, within the budget constraints, which were pretty significant. It's more expensive to run a program at that lake than it is in this pool, and the budget constraints. So we looked at what could fly with lifeguards, and it looked like, several days a week could have worked, but we just, we don't have the capacity to do that now. So what we are putting in front of the town is, you know, a series of events which would be specific dates where it'll be open for swimming. You know, we have some other, we need to kind of sit down and now brainstorm around fundraising ideas, but the basic idea is provide a, you know, day of swimming, charge something, or ask for donations on top of that and raise money for it. But it would be, man, it's going to be specific dates. We don't know how many yet, but, you know.
But I see that the town is being asked to provide a certificate of additional insurance. My specific question, because not only at a lake, you not only need a trained lifeguard, but you need a lake.
Yes.
And you need boats and rescue equipment and.
Yes.
And I'm not sure where that's coming from.
Yes, sorry. So with this proposal, which is a bit more manageable, you know, weekends, select dates across the summer rather than kind of all summer on the program, you know, we can do that ourselves. So we'll hire the lifeguards. We did the Rail Trail Ramble last summer. We got the permits together. We know what the permit requirements are. You know, Anita Peck's here, and she's helped us think about it too. But we'll hire the lifeguards. We'll ask Tara to help us source folks from the Rosendale pool staff that have the beach certification, Department of Health permits for running a beach. And we'll do all that stuff, and then hopefully make a lot of money for the pool.
And I'm going to say something else, which is not, you know, I agree that a safe place to swim is going to be a real asset to the community. I have concerns about the timing, and that is HRVR has an application in front of the planning board and several other decisions that this municipality needs to make. If it were after, somewhere down the road, some level of this project undoubtedly will get approved. If it were down the road, this would be an extremely generous offer. I do have a concern that an applicant is offering to partner with the town while an application is pending, and I just need to express that concern.
I understand the concern. It's, you know, that's a town board issue. The pool's closed now, and you know, we agreed last year to do it, and we're agreeing to do it this year. So, you know, I hope you'll say yes. I hope we can all get past that concern, because our intention is to, you know, to help the town and get the pool back.
One of the things that we're talking about doing is basically having it be a lease situation. So the town would lease the property, you know, that lease the lake for those days. We would be able to do it additionally, be an additional insured, which does not cost the town any extra money. But we would, you know, whatever our lawyer felt was a fair market value to say that we lease the property, and then they would be hired basically to run the program. That's the legal way that it would happen. So, yes.
I just have a question about your, you said that when you were looking at the budget, there was the budget to cover maybe a few days a week, like more like a program. But the phrase that you use is that you don't have the capacity to run that, to actually run that. So I'm wondering, what do you mean by you don't have the capacity? Is it the number of people who might come, or is it that it's too much work to do it, or because it sounded to me like if you're already going to get certain permits, like a certain amount of the work has to go into creating the fundraising opportunities. So I'm just wondering, you know, like what's the difference to get to the point where we can say Saturdays or Sundays? Just because when you're looking to go swimming, you know, the fundraising events, in addition to maybe one day a week, I'm just wondering what that, when you use that phrase capacity, what do you mean?
Yeah, got it. Well, the first, what I think I said probably both things, but the first capacity issue is that the town said that they couldn't do it. I mean, the whole idea was to have the town run the program, kind of also for the concerns that Manna just expressed, you know, get us out of it, provide the lake, let the town run it, and the town just simply wasn't able to staff and coordinate on, really on short notice. So, we said, well, maybe we can do it. We'd really like this to happen for the good of the town. And we don't really have the ability to staff and coordinate a ongoing program on no notice. So Saturdays only or some schedule we think we can pull off given that it's, middle of May. But to say that we'll do, the proposal we talked about with Gene was Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And do 12 weeks, which would have been 36 days. Just getting the lifeguard schedule together for that was not going to happen. So now we're saying, okay, let's scale back a bit and do something that we can all actually do and do it well rather than do it poorly.
Tim, could I just weigh in a little bit just to follow up, from the town's perspective? What Tim said is absolutely true, but as far as the resources that the town would have to get involved with a week-long program up there, or even an abbreviated weekend program each and every week. The problems we were facing is when the pool was discovered, the pool wasn't going to open. Obviously, a lot of the people that were planning on working at the pool this year found other employment. Some of specific to the lifeguards and the pool staff. Some of those people, as has been mentioned here, weren't certified to the lake lifeguards. So right there, we had a deficit moving forward that at this late hour, really at the 11th hour before the season starts, most of the certified lifeguards have found other employment. Luckily, Tim has connections to some, I guess, old-time lake guards that
we hope so. So
that
far
still
we
have their skills and
we
want to
have
exercise their
some
skills.
soft commitments so far. I mean, we really need to do a lot of work now because we have to sit down immediately with with whomever wants to be involved with this, but certainly, Carrie Wyckoff and I and Tara will sit down and start looking at how many lifeguards for what dates and what else needs to happen. It's quite a bit of work, so I'm going to jump right into it.
Right. And just to elaborate one more step, and I know this lady had her hand up for a while, but just to elaborate on one more step, where it became problematic on the town's end was that Tara being our recreation director, our only recreation director, it was problematic to run the recreation program in 2 sites. I'm saying for a week-long thing. That was really one of the things that weighed heavily on the decision not to run a week-long program, to run it on multiple sites.
And then the other thing that we haven't talked about is that to have the same program at the lake required more guards. It was a bigger, you're covering more area. So, we had met with the county and it would have been more, more guards. And so then that increased the cost of running that kind of a program too. So it was just a different logistics. It didn't work out. And I didn't want to put us in a position of funding something that maybe would put us in the red when I already know that the pool run was running in the red. So I felt like it wasn't going to make it, and all those things added up to say we think this is going to be overextending ourselves. So then Tim came back with the plan of we could probably do several days over the summer, and we kind of bandied about some numbers. I don't know if you're ready to commit with how many days, but we haven't gotten a number exactly. But it could be,
It's entirely about staffing it.
Yep.
We need volunteers to help, manage the site, and then, we need lifeguards, and we need to start making phone calls because it's May and the lifeguards are finding their
So
work.
the more we find lifeguards, the more we find volunteers, the more swimming days we'll be able to reduce. Is that what the bottom line is?
Well, we'll see. Yeah, I mean,
he has to look at the schedule.
we got to, and then we also have events scheduled at the lake that come first because they've been scheduled for a year and all that. But in principle, yeah, the more let's get a couple done and make sure they work, and then let's do more.
Jen,
I'm glad to hear that you are considering or looking into paying fair market value and leasing it, because I think any donation from an applicant jeopardizes the town board's decision-making on a zoning amendment. And I want to ask whether, once you've determined what that number is, because it's a nice place and I imagine it's not going to be cheap, have you sussed out agreements with Moriello or the
We
pool.
looked into, we have some other agreements that are being dealt with, where like the swim team has found a place to go. We, some of the other pools and have worked out different things for some of the other programs. We got to the point where, at first it was like, how can we go forward this summer without all these programs? This is gonna be really hurt everyone. But as we were trying to figure out how to make this happen, each program started to find a home. So that kind of helped with the decision that, okay, we can maybe step back and not do the whole thing. I don't remember exactly who it was that they're doing, there were different things for camp and for swim team and for lessons, like, I think, who can offer those services, and swim team is where, do you remember? Wiltwyck, and, I know that the youth center talked to Mariello, but they're now thinking about doing something, they're not really decided yet, so there's some things still being worked out, but, I think we're at the point where, it didn't make sense to invest that kind of money, because those cost us a lot of money, running those, and not having everybody needing to go there anymore. So
What's Moriello?
that's a pool down the road in New Paltz.
We've also had discussion with Williston County Area Transit to see if they would be willing to run extra bus routes through Rosendale to the county pool or perhaps Moriello. I don't think we've gotten a
I
response
haven't
on
gotten
that.
a word back,
but,
I did ask for that
The
too.
supervisor has been working on that too.
Have you looked at the Hurley pool too? Have you talked to those?
I asked UCAT if they would do a pickup here to go to the county pool, because that makes sense, Nick?
City of Kingston residents get plenty of use out of our pool. What about something reciprocal with the Andretta pool? It's basically on Lucas Avenue.
Anybody can go there. You can just go, just like they come here to pay a day fee, we can go there and pay a day
I'm
fee.
saying something
We're just trying to make it.
formalized, like you're saying, with the bus schedule.
I asked UCAT to look into it, I haven't heard back from them, but they said they would look into it. They right now have one day a week that they have a bus that goes that way for the county. So I said it would really be nice if it was doing that every day, but I haven't gotten word back yet from them.
Is the recognition band still functional?
That is the youth, that's the youth centers. Whereas the town of Rosendale has a need for telecommunications and data service, and whereas the Cornerstone Telephone Company fills needs and provides service at a discounted rate, now therefore be resolved. The town board of the town of Rosendale hereby authorizes supervisor to sign the service agreement with Cornerstone Telephone Company, LLC, a copy of which is annexed here to and made a part of thereof. Telephone services in all town offices executive for a 36-month term.
I'll second.